Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Traveling Gun. My name is Thomas. I am a regional flight attendant, and today's video is bidding with me and how to bid. Now, before we go any further, I want to make a disclaimer that when I say how to bid, I'm not saying that anything in this video is 100% guaranteed and will work all the time. These are just little advices and knickknacks that I've learned throughout the years of me being a flight attendant, which hasn't been that long. It's only been 3 years, but it seemed to work for me, so I decided to share it all with you because I do know there are a few flight attendants who watch my YouTube channel that work for my current company, and they possibly need help with bidding and things like that. So today I will be bidding for the month of November and my vacation. I do have 2 weeks worth of vacation that I bid for next year. So with flight attendants, we do bid for our vacation. We do see how many vacation days we get within the prior year before we actually take the vacation. So I've occurred 13 days worth of vacation, which occurred from working and things like that. And being that this was a pandemic and a lot of people took leave, the people who took the leave for however long they took it, they still occurred vacation time. So they didn't have to actually work. Now, if this was a normal time, you would have to actually work a certain amount of hours to keep accruing vacation time. But the company has allowed them to accrue vacation even though they were on leave. But first, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about bidding for my regular schedule, which is November. So next month, I really only need one particular day off that I must have off because I have to take a driver's test. And I will explain why I have to take a driver's test in a whole nother video. But that's the only thing only day that I need off. I'm not gonna bid for Thanksgiving off. I'm not gonna bid for anything else off. So what I would normally do is we are based on a point system from 1,000 to 0. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in the 19th as far as days off, and I'm put that at 1,000. And that's letting the computer know that, hey, I really want this day off. And then what I would do next is bid for max credit hours, which means I can get the maximum credit hours possible with the minimum days off, which for us as a line holder is 11 days off for the entire month. And max credit hours, I can get anywhere between 85 to 90 hours. Now, with that being said, our company did add something called max credit line, which you can actually click that in the system that we use to bid for our schedules, and that will basically take you above the max credit hours, which will actually give you between 90 to 100 hours. So that just means you still get the minimum days off, but you'll probably be working longer routes that we have in order to get those 90 to 100 hours in. So that's what I did. I put the 19th off for 1,000 and then max credit hours for 900, and you just go trickle down from that. And in a normal time, I would only bid for maybe if I wanted max days off, which I can get the maximum of 20 days off possibly in a month. That's the only thing that I bid for. So my advice is this: what I've learned over the years, I should say, I'm making it seem like I've been here for 20 years, but the short time that I have been a flight attendant is you don't bid for a lot of things because the computer system is not going to really know what you really want. So if you don't have a lot of things to do for the prior month, just bid for one thing. Like if you need a certain day off, just bid for that and leave it alone. Or if you want to work more hours, just bid for that, leave it alone. Don't put 2 million things in there because you have a computer system that's not going to really know what you want. You got to kind of trick the computer systems in a sense, if that makes sense to anybody. But that's what I would advise you to do. And for me, if I had to give a percentage, it probably worked between 80 to 90% of the time that since I've been here that I've actually gotten what I bid for the way that I bid for. Even when I help some reservists to bid, let's say this time was normal and you wanted to be able to have consecutive days off so you can go on a trip or somewhere like that. So what I tell them to do is, what I did was, when I was on reserve, was at the end of the month is where I would bid for strings of days off, maybe 4 at the max. Put that at 1,000, leave it alone. Most of the time, I did get that. sometimes I didn't. I probably got 3 days, and I had to kind of move my reserve days around in order to be able to get those 4 to 5 days off. The reason I did it at the end of the month is because when you're on reserve, you don't know when you're going to get used, how much you're going to get used. So I did it at the end of the month because I wanted to see how much crew scheduling would use me during the beginning of the month, and that way it lets me know if I needed to pick up a trip so I can make some extra money to be able to pay my bills. And if I got used a lot, then I took a trip. So you have to choose which one you want to do and which one is more important to you. But that is the way that I did it, as far as just bidding for strings of days off, and leave it alone. Don't mess with anything else, just that alone, and that tells the computer system this is what you really want. Fortunately for me, I don't have a lot of things that I need to do on specific certain days. When it comes down to my children, doctor's appointments, things like that, kind of work it around my off days. That way I'll be able to do it, because I'm very flexible in my off days, because I do have some off days during the week. That is my advice on bidding for your schedule for people who are on reserve, or if you're bidding for a line. Now, you can bid how you want to bid, but I've seen people bid for so many things, like had at least 20 things in their bid pack, and wonder why they didn't get anything that they wanted. So for me, it works out to keep it simple. Just bid for one thing, put it at 1,000, or however your system works. If it's not the point system, just put that at high, medium, low. I don't know how it works for everybody else, but ours is the point system. Just leave it at that, and then go and hit save, and that's it. Next, I have to bid for my vacation. So next year's vacation is going to be kind of tricky, being that we are in a pandemic. Countries are not open to U.S. citizens. Well, certain countries are not open to U.S. citizens, and projected travel won't open back up until the middle to the end of next year. So that's going to pose a problem, because everybody that works with me thinking the same exact thing, and I'm not very, very senior, so I might not get what I bid for on the back end of the year. Normally, I will bid for the last week of September, because kids have gone back to school, parents are going back to school, so nobody's taking vacation, so it's easier to non-rev. And I've done that for 3 years, and I've gotten it every single time. Now that I have 2 weeks, it's like now I have to think of another week that I want to use for vacation, and that's kind of hard now that I have to come up with another week. But basically, how we bid for is week 1, 2, 3, etc., all the way to 52 weeks, whatever it is in the year. And we have to put multiple ones, like we have to put our first choice, second choice, third choice for week 1. Then we have another column where we have to, if we have more, some people have more than just 1 week, like I do, first choice, second choice, third choice, and so forth. So if you don't get your first, it goes to your backup, and then if you don't get that, it goes to that. Now, with that being said, even if I don't get what I originally wanted the first time, I can always swap it if it's available, because it's going to constantly change. People are going to move their vacation from whatever date it is, because something may have came up. But that's what I'm going to do, is still going to bid for the same week that I always bid for, and I have to find some backup weeks. Now for my second week, I thought about something that goes on that I wanted to experience, like the Day of the Dead in Mexico is from Halloween to November 2nd, and I've always wanted to experience, just be down there for the experience of the Day of the Dead in Mexico or whatnot. Or I can just use it for that same week to go somewhere else, and I can also split it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it simple. My first option is going to be the same as I've always been, the last week of September. And I'm going to try to do the last week of October going into November. And hopefully I get that. If not, I have to, I haven't really thought of a backup, but as I look through the bid pack or the vacation weeks, I'll come up with a backup. But I do know that it's going to be at the latter half of the year, being that it's been projected that we won't be able to do travel until then. But Also, I want to say that if you work for my company, we have something called Vax Days, which can extend your vacation a little bit longer. And basically, Vax Days are days that you would have normally already gotten off in that particular month. What I would have to do is email crew planning and let them know, say, hey, I want my Vax Days to be at the beginning of my vacation and at the end of my vacation, which gives me 2 extra days. 1 day on the front end, 1 day on the back end. And it just goes towards my minimum days that I was going to get off already. So you have to do that the month that you're bidding for your vacation. As far as when you're doing your schedule for the month that your vacation is, you have to email crew planning. So I've told a lot of people that I work with, what about use your Vax Days, because it'll make it a lot longer. So instead of having 4 days, you'll have 6. Instead of having 5, you'll have 7 days of vacation because you'll be off. And of course, they don't go through this in training because they don't have the time to. It just came from me talking to people around in the crew room and asking questions. And that's what I did when I first started. I was, always asking questions to multiple different people. And the story, I wouldn't say the stories, but the answers came up sort of similar. So, and then I just deciphered from there and just went about my way of how to do it. Now, again, I'm not saying that this will work 100% of the time. I just found this more effective for me when I bid for something when it's just only have one thing to do. It just only bid for one thing only, and let it ride out and just see. And then what I usually normally do is if I don't like the schedule that I get, I modify it. So, but November schedules have already came out, so I will leave what I got already up. As you can see, I got the 19th off, and I'm not working on Thanksgiving. So I didn't bid not to work on Thanksgiving, and I still got off on Thanksgiving. So this makes 3 years in a row that I haven't had to work Thanksgiving. So, like I said, it just works out that way. Now, if your seniority is way, way, way down on the bottom, it's not impossible, but it's not likely. But the thing is, you still have to try. My thing is just bid for that one thing. If you just want Christmas off, just bid for Christmas off. Put that at high, put that at however many points, leave it alone, and go about your business. And see if it work out. If not, you have to just continue to kind of tweak it and kind of play with the system to see what works out. Because that's what I had to end up doing. And like I said, it has worked out for me 85 to 90% of the time. But that's how I bid. And I want to thank everybody for watching. If you're new here, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Please leave a comment. I love engaging with you all. If you have any questions, I have no problem asking questions, especially if you work for my company. I'm very approachable. I have no problem with helping anybody out because that's what I'm here for. I always help people in the crew room if they have issues, or even if we're in general just talking. I try to give as much information as possible so that they can, the quality of life is always amazing when you know what to do or you have the knowledge to. So I try to pass on what I've learned and what has worked for me. Not saying it's going to work all the time for you. It might work and it might not, but this is what has worked for me since I've been here in my 3 years. Until next time, I'm Traveling Gun. You have a great day.